Yeah. So let's talk about messing up and perfectionism and things like that and how it gets into these big projects. So it's day 2,
Okay.
and yeah, I've already messed up a piece every day. Day 1, I mess some things up, and day 2, I mess things up.
Okay. How
So
come I don't know about this?
well, I think this is because, well, this is a great example. So this is part true confessions and part these things happen, and do people notice, so when does it really matter and when doesn't it matter?
Right.
And me as the creator, of course, am horrified that I'm making these mistakes. So it's interesting that you didn't notice. Do you want to know what they are?
Okay. I think I know of one. So I think when we transferred the lessons from Rizuku to the email structure, that the link
Mm-hmm.
for the PDF got left off. Is that correct?
Well, no, that's something I couldn't even control. So I can't put the link to the PDF in the email because the Rizuku system doesn't have that feature. So that's something
Okay,
that,
so
so I ended up
that's not one
having
of
to
the
go.
mistakes.
Oh, well, yeah, we could call that one a mistake too. So maybe make that 3 mistakes. So
Okay.
yeah,
All right.
so
I
I
was
had to go
reaching,
back
but
in
okay.
and
So tell me about the
yeah,
2 mistakes that I had no idea.
you didn't know. Well, okay, so first one is yesterday. There's 2 decks in the image center that are named very similarly. One's exploring my options and the other's exploring new options.
Okay.
So I said we were going to use the exploring new options deck. I accidentally set it up with exploring my options. Okay.
Okay.
So I made the links. Well, I caught that mistake before we went live, but so I changed it. I changed it on the Rizuku lesson, but I forgot to change it on the email.
Oh,
So
okay.
what we saw yesterday were some people were using the exploring my options and some people were exploring new options. So exploring
Okay.
new options, there's actually a physical deck that we use. The exploring my options was the original prototype deck that I was testing, and I ended up changing a bunch of stuff in. So when I started seeing the images, I was like, oh my goodness, some people are using one deck and some people are using another. So yeah, so I, as the creator, was horrified. Oh my goodness, I made this mistake. I forgot to do that. I forgot to check the other link. But
Right.
in reality, did you notice? Did you care? Yeah, yeah.
No, I I thought about it afterwards, like, I wonder
Mhm.
what deck we were using.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
Because it was
but
confusing if you really know the decks.
I thought
Yeah.
to myself, well, whatever it is, it is. I mean, you're still going to get, insights. So I think it's, I don't consider that a mistake. It could actually
Yeah,
be
well,
an experiment, really.
exactly, exactly. But just I'm only talking about it in because of what goes on inside. What goes on
Hmm.
inside me as the person
Right.
that set it up and feels like I screwed up. I
Right.
then have to look at, is it something that's going to change the experience for the user? And like you just said, I don't think it does. I don't think it matters which deck people use. And so you see some stuff on the screen maybe that you didn't get in your deck as an oh well, we
Yeah.
still were
Yeah.
able
Yeah.
to do the exercises. Yeah, so I
Absolutely.
kind of went through that and I was kind of okay with it. And then we did the worksheet for today, day 2, and I was sitting there coloring it and all that kind of stuff, and then I started thinking, okay, what was that original image like that I did, and I wonder if it's anywhere near like what I colored, because I wasn't looking at, I don't get I mean, I get the emails, but I don't look at them because I wrote them. Um, and so then I realized I did open it up and I went, oh my goodness, it's not the same image.
Oh,
I
interesting.
put I put the wrong line art here. And the way that it's created, it's a huge Photoshop file with like 36 different sets of layers, and there's like 8 layers in each one, and it's really complicated. And so you have to really pay attention when you're creating all the files and exporting them. And yeah, I messed up. So there we go. There's another true confession.
So that means
And
that the image that showed up on the email, oh, I don't go to the emails. I go to the Rizuku because I'm not on the email list, oddly enough.
yeah, exactly.
So I go to Rizuku. So you're saying that the people on one platform got a different image than on the other platform?
Oh no, everybody got the wrong one. So everybody got one image in the email and on the Rizuku, and then the worksheet is a different image. So the one to color is a different image. This image, I don't think we actually used in the course. So
that's interesting.
Yeah.
That's interesting because I like that image and I didn't even think about it, that it didn't match.
There we go. So here's another great example. As a creator, I am horrified, but as the user, who cares? So yeah, there we go.
Yeah, so yeah. Okay, well, I'm not a perfectionist. I am a break-even person. So,
yes, say more about that. Say more, because I think a lot of us need to learn about being a break-even person.
Yeah,
and,
so
because I'm horrified that I screwed up place.
Yeah, so I've worked with a lot of perfectionists, and both of my businesses, I worked with perfectionists also. And I am just what I call myself a break-even person, and that means like whatever amount of time and energy that I put into something, I have to find the point where I'm breaking even on my time and my resources and my output. So they have to kind of level out. If I start to put too much time into effort, resources, product, whatever it is, then things start to become unbalanced, right? Because I'm not gonna. So an example would be, so I had an automotive repair business and we only did Porsche work. So, when you're doing automotive repair, there are book times, and so a certain job has to take a certain amount, or it's designed to take a certain amount of time. So the goal is to try to get it done quickly, right? So that you can make time on the time. But I worked with a perfectionist who would literally go from wheel to wheel and put the center caps so they were even. But then he would go to the other side of the car and do the same thing. Like, you can't see both sides of the car at the same time, but this mattered to him. And in my brain, I'm just like, oh my God, this is such an incredible waste of time because I can't build a client. So it was a constant, so for me, I'm always looking for that break-even point where I've put in an appropriate amount of time and energy, and I'm getting an appropriate amount of value back out of it. If I start to creep, then I'm losing money. That's the way I see it, because I'm a total capitalist in some ways. So I'm losing money. So in this case, there's a point where you can't be a perfectionist because the amount of time and energy you would put into something you can never get back out of in terms of sales. And I look at everything in life as one big business, right? I can't get that out of my head, so I'm always trying to equal the value. But really, even in creative work, if you are, someone who's doing artistic work, say you're doing portrait paintings or something, if you take too long on that painting, you could literally only be making $5 an hour. And at that point, what's the value to you? You may love it, but you will resent that you are not being paid for all of your time. So there's, for me, that's the reason I like to look for that. How am I equaling out effort and time? And that means that sometimes there are typos. That means that sometimes I don't have beautiful, gorgeous worksheets.
There's also there's a typo on today's worksheet.
I saw that.
Here's a typo.
But I read about 10 books a week. I know a lot of people don't find that hard to believe, but yes, I do read 10 books a week, up to. And in practically every book that I read, I find a typo. It's just there. It doesn't stop me. I'm not going to complain. The value of the written material is still there and doesn't become devalued by a small piece of it not being perfect. So, yeah, I mean, unless we're
Yeah,
building jet engines, I don't, you know.
right. Well, and I do, typos do slip all the time for me. I'm not, words are not my first language. And so, but I get so many emails and comments and stuff. And I've had so many people pull me aside and say, if you have spelling errors and everything, you're just looking unprofessional and you're looking really, bad. And I have people pick on my
Okay.
grammar and this and that. And so, especially when you're putting yourself out into the world like we are now, I think it becomes even, there's a fear of putting yourself out. And then when you get those kind of responses back, and even people who are trying to be helpful, sometimes it can feel like, oh my goodness, what have I done? And am I
Right.
going to
And
be
I think that
embarrassed?
there are
And
times,
everyone's going to know. Everyone's going to know.
yeah, there are times when you need to spend more time. So let's
Yeah.
say, I tend to be kind of a hard asslet when it comes to resumes and cover letters. And I will give
Yeah.
people specific instructions when I'm hiring, what I expect them to do, what I expect them to send me.
Mm-hmm.
And my expectation is if I'm hiring for someone detail oriented, that they will have no typos, that they will follow instructions, that kind of thing. But this is not that. So, I know that I wrote this Kindle book, put it up for
Mm-hmm.
sale in Amazon, and I wrote some copy for that little thing underneath the Kindle book, and there was a typo in there, and someone just
Mm-hmm.
slammed me immediately. Like, how can
Ah,
you be a
yeah.
writer and have a typo?
Right. Exactly. Yeah,
Okay, and
exactly. How can you
and
do
in my
this?
brain, I'm like, really? But
Yeah.
and my response is always, well, I'm a writer, not an editor. Like,
Right. Yeah.
my goal is to get my value out to you, and it's something's
Mm-hmm.
going to get. So I try not to take it personally because it's going to happen, and it happens to all of
Mm-hmm.
us. It doesn't devalue you as a person, and it doesn't necessarily devalue your skills because we're not all designed to be great proofreaders. I'm not. I may write a lot,
Yeah.
and I may be a good writer, but I'm certainly guilty of not being a great editor. So, um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I think it's just trying to find out the places in which the details matter.
Yeah.
In here, I'm just, this is for everyone here, in case you are a perfectionist, in case you did happen to send an email about the typo. Um,
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't matter. We are
Yeah.
not going to pick on you if
Yeah.
you color outside the lines. I mean, that's the point of this process, because these processes are messy and they
Mm-hmm.
aren't perfect, and that's the
Right.
way that we get to the end result. And throughout the process of building anything, even like me building a business wherein no idea about cars at all, clearly I messed up a lot. I didn't know a
Mm-hmm.
lot. Didn't mean I wasn't going to be successful, and I didn't let it stop me
Right.
from getting where I needed to be. So I think it's a lesson for all of us. I know just from being around perfectionists for such a long time that it is very, very hard to break that habit, and that it feels sometimes uncomfortable.